Right, okay folks, welcome to the very first Friday Waffle of 2024. Massive happy new year to everybody. Did I record a video on... I did. I recorded a video on the 1st of January, but anyone that didn't watch that, happy new year everyone. I'm not a fan of New Year. A lot of people seem to use it as a sort of like a mark in the sand, you know, it's a new year. You know what, it's just another day, and some people seem to get it into their head that because it's a new year that everything, it's like as if the score is reset and you're starting off again. Technically, every time you get out of your bed in the morning, the score is reset. You know, you've got a new day to try and make a difference, to try and not make the same fuck-ups that you made, to try and do what you want to do. So I'm not a big fan of the whole New Year thing. Yeah, New Year, you know, hope this is better than the last year. It's just a continuum. But I'm going to try and keep this waffle a wee bit more upbeat because last week's was very negative. I was doing a lot of complaining. That's what I am, I suppose. So I don't know why I'm apologising. But yeah, my New Year. What did I do? I was at a bowling club on Hogmanay, and then we left about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was quite low key, but it was the first time I've actually been out of the house on Hogmanay for many years. So what I've been doing since then on what day was it? Was it Sunday? I can't remember what day it was. You know what? I completely. This is Thursday. The day before I was due to go back to work, I went to see a friend. I hadn't seen him for a long time, like many years. So I caught up with him, which was really nice. And then I was back to work on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Wasn't too bad. I mean, quite quiet because most of our customers are still on holiday. And a lot of the guys that kind of give us work are on holiday as well. So it's been quite quiet, which is great because whilst I wasn't looking forward to going back to work, I'm glad I'm back because, yeah, as I said before, I'm not a big fan of Christmas, and I actually find it's not that I'm against Christmas or against New Year, not at all. I just actually get really down in the dumps, and I think a lot of people are like that. You know, you've got the whole lead up to the Christmas itself, and then you've got Christmas Day, and then it's bang back, you know, back to reality with a bump. You know, back to work. And apparently, and I don't know if this is true, I think I either heard it on the radio or someone told me that Monday coming is apparently the most depressing day of the year. It's the day where most people are sad for different reasons. A, they're back to work. B, they've got a massive credit card bill to pay because of Christmas. C, they don't get paid. Like everybody, I got paid a week early in December, which means you've then got an extra week before you get paid. So yeah, it's apparently the saddest day next Monday, so you've got that to look forward to. What have I been doing with myself? I've been embarking on a bit of a tidy up with gaming systems. Not selling them, unfortunately. You know, I still want to do that, but the biggest problem for me is how you actually go about selling them. You know, putting them on eBay is just a complete pain in the arse. You always run the risk of somebody moaning about the thing, giving you bad feedback, whatever. Then you've got the whole bollocks of like packaging stuff up, and because of the first one, because of the chance of people complaining, excuse me, it means you end up having to like pack things within an inch of its life, and I just can't be arsed with that. A, I don't have the boxes, I don't have the packing, so I really cannot be arsed selling through eBay. But anyway, when I got my DVD player for my Christmas from my girlfriend, which is the dog's bollocks, I have to say, I had to I had to make a bit of space underneath the TV in the living room over there. And you know what, I realised what did I have sitting out? I had the mini Commodore 64, I had the big Commodore 64 thing, not the original Commodore 64, the recreated the 64. I had a mini Amiga Mini, yeah, I think that's what they call it. And it just crossed my mind. I thought, you know what, I've not played these for a year, easily. So I thought, what is the point of having them sitting out, just taking up space, gathering dust? So I put them all away. I've also got a SNES Mini, a Mega Drive Mini, and a PC Engine Mini. Now these are great systems, they really are great systems, but I don't use them. I simply do not use them. So fortunately, I was clever enough to keep boxes. I mean, I know it's a bit of a thing about not throwing away boxes, but you know, in this case it was good. It means I've been able to package them all away. I've now got them sitting on top of a wardrobe, getting unused. Getting unused? That's not a phrase, that's contrary, isn't it? I think, yeah, getting unused I should say. So yeah, I've kind of tidied up a wee bit, but I was in my games room earlier on tonight, and I realised how much stuff I've actually got. Just random stuff, not just systems, I've got games, I've just got so much kind of gaming related stuff it's worth a fair bit of money. And you know, the thought of having to try and sell all that kind of stuff, I don't know. I really do think that one day I'll make a big list of everything and I'll just put it, you know, on eBay or whatever, and it'll be like £5,000, come and take the lot away. That's what I'm going to have to do at some point. But anyway, gaming, what have I been playing? Playing a wee bit Power Wash Simulator. What else have I been playing? I have been playing stuff. Have I? Yeah, I've been getting back into Technoparrot, which is that emulator that emulates sort of games from like the noughties, you know, the 2005, 6s, whatever. Been playing a bit of that. Really impressive. I've done a video actually showing you what that's about. Sort of YouTube wise, I've not done anything. You know what it's like when you're on holiday, you're busy. I mean, this was probably the busiest kind of Christmas, New Year I've had for a long time. I was out a lot of the time, seeing friends and just doing different things, visiting people, visiting family. So I never really got a chance to kind of get stuck into making any YouTube videos, but I have got some in the back burner which will be getting put out next week. So yeah, I've not been doing very much of anything actually when I think about it. I've not been at Cook Soul. That doesn't resume until next Monday. Well, tell a lie. There was a class on tonight, but it's for black belts only, so that eliminates me. But yeah, just kind of getting back into work. That is it. By the way, an apology about. I was going to be doing a video with Lacosa. I was going to do a live commentary on the darts. That's what I've been doing. I've been watching the darts. We were planning to do a live commentary on the final, and Lacosa didn't want to do it because he said he wasn't interested in any of the guys that were in the final, which is absolutely fine. I get it. I did watch the final, and holy shit, whilst the guys might not have a lot of personality, like your Jockey Wilsons and Eric Bristol's, whatever, holy shit, the quality of darts now is just, it's getting close to like the perfect darts. It really is. You know, these guys now, the quality compared to, you know, back in the 80s. But then there again, back in the 80s, they were playing for like £3,000. The guy that won it last night, Lewis, can't even remember his second name, he got £500,000. Not bad for a pub game. So yeah, I should maybe give up Cooksool and pool and take up darts and make myself a bit of money. I actually used to be not a bad darts player, to be fair. So yeah, I'm kind of waffling here, folks. Yeah, so that's kind of been it. I've been watching a lot of darts, visiting family, relatives and what have you. That is it, back to work. So yeah, right, listen, I was thanking you lot for asking me questions and I do appreciate it. Oh, actually, before I move on to questions, on the 31st of December, I downloaded a demo for the Commodore 64 and I've made a few of these videos. I played it on the Mister and I just did a wee intro and I says, you know, look at this demo, how impressive is this? Now this video alone has got 22,000 views. Now my average, I mean, my waffle last week got 224. This one's got 22,000. It's got 22,000 views. It's got 419 thumbs up and it's got 64 comments. Yeah, mental. Absolutely mental. I mean, to be fair, I did call it mind-blowing demo on the Commodore 64, but it's not clickbait. I'm one of these people, if you've watched my channel for a long time, I might be a lot of things, but you know what, I'm always honest. I'll never bullshit you. You know, so if I put out a title on a video, it's not to try and get clickbait, to try and draw people in. It's because that's what I think. It was quite amusing because I don't know if you've watched the video, go and watch it. It's based around kind of rock music. It's got Kiss and it's got a character who eventually morphs into Eddie out of Iron Maiden. And somebody commented saying that they thought the demo was extremely impressive, but they were really saddened to see that they went down a gruesome path featuring Eddie from Iron Maiden. And yeah, the guy basically got flamed alive. They were saying, you know, you must know that this guy is a logo. It's the character for Iron Maiden. He's been a thing for what, 40 odd years. And there wasn't any real nasty comments. I mean, if there had been, in fact there was one comment which I'm not going to tell you what it said, but it was quite inappropriate and I deleted that. But that's the thing about when you've got a small channel like me, your videos they kind of largely go underneath the radar, and you don't really attract any attention. But when you've got a video that's out there that's getting 22,000 views, it's going to attract. If you get 22,000 people watching it, you're going to have a couple of people who do get offended, who say the wrong thing, whatever. So interesting, but yeah, I'm not complaining. You know, I've on the back of getting all these views, I think I've picked up in the last week. I've picked up I think 87 subscribers, which is nice. So you know, all good. So anyway, yeah, I did tell you lot that unless I got people asking me topics, questions, whatever, the Friday Waffle will occur very rarely, and fortunately you lot absolutely hit it out the park. So I'm going to have a quick drink of my tea. Where the hell's the comments going? And then I'm just going to read through the comments. Right. So I can't even read that. Sit URL 5833 said, "There's no community spirit anymore. I can remember neighbours dancing in the street together in the 1980s at Christmas. It's just toxic consumerism every day of the year now." And I do tend to agree with that. I mean, I can remember, and I have mentioned this before, I can remember as a teenager in Scotland in the mid 1980s, Hogmanay, you would get a carry, you'd get beer in a bag, and you would go wandering about the streets, and if you heard music, you would knock on the door, and you would go into somebody's house, it'd be a complete stranger, and they would let you in, and that was the way it was. Can you imagine doing that nowadays, walking into a stranger's house? You'd have the police sent to you, but yeah, I'm not going to go down that road again, I've already had my kind of moan, but yeah, the community spirit is pretty much dead. I'm not saying it's dead completely, I'm sure there are some neighbourhoods where they're friendly to each other, but I know my neighbours, my next door neighbour that way, he'll say hello, the woman will ignore me unless I say hello to her. You know, that's my next door neighbour, I've lived next door to them for 5 years, so go figure. Charlie's Angel said, wishing you a great New Year, Alan, and thanks for the videos. You're very, very welcome, Charlie, and I do appreciate all your support over the years, mate. Wee Bob Art, hope you had a good night out, Alan. Yeah, that's right, I was away out playing, what did I do? I was away out playing pool. I can't remember what night it was. Can't remember. And yeah, I was also at the bowling club. I'm on the Dave team with regards to Christmas, but it is a bit different for me as I'm married with 5 kids all living at home. Yeah, I was having a rant and saying how I don't like Christmas, but yeah, if you've got a family, it's still a great time. They're older now, the youngest being 15, but Christmas is still full of traditions. We don't ever go to other people's houses for Christmas, as there are too many of us to start with. So it's usually just us, and therefore the pressure of a tidy house and the cooking being correct for the guests isn't something we have to worry about. It's just a day of opening some gifts, and we tend to do a board game or VR is usually quite funny. This year was quieter, and perhaps in 10 years time when the kids have fled the nest, my Christmas will be a much quieter affair, and maybe my thoughts will change. I do avoid going out usually the week leading up to Christmas due to how mental the world gets. So the week leading up is usually just relaxing, normally working and watching Christmas movies. That sounds great, Bob. The reason I don't ask many questions anymore was that I wasn't sure if the waffle would continue or not. Anyway, I hope you had a great night at the pool. I wish you all the best for New Year ahead. 2023 has been a difficult one over here, but one day at a time. Question for the next time when it happens. I got my Spectrum Next recently. I booted up 180 darts and managed to complete it on my first go, which I was pretty shocked about. It was like riding a bike. The game I played lots back in the day just seemed to fit. As a generic topic, game controls can make or break a game. Are there any games which have just failed to capture you due to the complexity of the controls? And are there any games that you have stuck with to the point where it all made sense? Excuse me. Interesting you're talking about 180. I played it on a live stream and I got a perfect 9 darter. Did you manage to get a 9 darter, Bob? Did that live, so there you go. One game that the controls almost broke me, but I persevered, and it's one of my favourite games. It's, you know, in the Commodore 64, and it was Whizball. You know, the controls are daft difficult, and until you can get a few power ups, it's borderline completely unplayable. And I remember reading, I read a review of Zap in Zap magazine. It got a great review. I think it got a gold medal actually. And then when I tried to play it, I just thought this is impossible. And but I stuck with it, and I soon kind of picked it up. But has there been any game where the controls have just overwhelmed me? Not so much like old style games, but I mean, well, in fact, here's another one. This is probably a common answer. Defender, the arcade game Defender. It's got something like, let me think, it's got fire, reverse, thrust, hyper bomb, and then reverse, it changes direction, plus up and down. So it's got about, for an early arcade game, it's got a joystick and it's got about 6 buttons, and it is the hardest arcade game in the world. And for years and years and years and years, I just avoided it because I tried it and it's like, this is impossible, this is absolutely impossible. and it was only when I got got my Defender cabinet that's got the bespoke controls that I actually persevered, and I can now play the game. I'm still shite at it, but I can now control it. So that was one game where, again, I just took the time to actually learn the controls, and it pays back so much. I mean, it's a wonderful game. Yeah, but there's been loads of games, not so much like on 8-bit machines, but there's been loads of games over the years, especially kind of RPGs and all that kind of stuff. I just get completely overwhelmed with controls, and I give up. I can't think of any specific one, Bob, but yeah. Anyway, Bob, listen, thank you so much for the question, mate. You know me, I do like to do waffles. I do enjoy doing a waffle, but I need stuff to talk about. So these will be as regular as people want them to be. If you keep asking me stuff, questions, topics, whatever, I'll keep making these. So thanks very, very much, Bob. Again, it's much appreciated. Paul Patrick 885, Happy New Year, Alan. Thanks for all the great content. Your Nice and Nasty podcast series has been an excellent listen. Thanks very much, Paul. Yeah, the Nice and Nasty has been great. For me, it's easy to do. There's no prep for me. All I have to do is get the guests and then let them do all the talking. Top Gun Maverick is a movie that is definitely worth picking up on 4K Blu-ray if you've not already got it. That'll be a great demo disc for your new home cinema speakers, and it's a pretty good movie as well. It's a game, not a game, it's a film I did go to the pictures to see. But I bought a lot of Blu-rays on eBay and at CX, and I'm having fantastic fun with that. What are your thoughts on the MSX computers? Why do you think they failed in the UK when they were a big success in other parts of Europe, like the Netherlands? I can remember briefly seeing the MSX computers in Boots back in the 1980s from Sony Panasonic, and they looked amazing but expensive. I wonder why no UK manufacturers decided to build an MSX computer to spec. If Amstrad had decided to do an MSX specified computer rather than the CPC 464, then MSX could have been a massive hit. I think you've already touched on the reason, or at least what I think is part of the reason they failed. When the MSX computers kind of came out, the Spectrum had already taken a hold. I mean, they had the VIC-20, the Spectrum. The Spectrum was an affordable computer, and the Commodore 64, it was the second best kind of selling computer. So it was always going to be difficult. And again, the problem with the MSX was, whilst it was a good computer, it had the same processor as the Spectrum. And like the Amstrad, a lot of the ports that came out on the MSX were straight ports from the Spectrum. Now that's fine if you own a Spectrum, because that's all the Spectrum can do. But if you're buying a computer that's got much more capable hardware and you're getting a Spectrum port, you're going to be pretty pissed off. So yeah, but I think that plus the fact that they probably were expensive. I mean, in an ideal world, you know, we would only have one type of computer, which would mean that all the games were written for this one system. But no, I think by the time the MSX came along, I think the Commodore 64 and Spectrum, and probably not quite so much the Amstrad, had taken a kind of grip. So yeah, so thanks very much, Paul, that was great, and I will need to double check out Top Gun Maverick. Right, Retro Russ, question for your next waffle, Alan. Excuse me, I'm just going to read this and drink. Whilst on the subject of Christmas, how much do you think Christmases back in the early 80s were responsible for the success of the early home computers such as the Spectrum and Commodore 64? The Spectrum sold millions of units over the early 80s, and many a lad like us asked for them as Christmas presents. I think there is absolutely no question, Russ, that Christmases was really, you know, that was what gave all these companies the sales. I mean, I was an adult, so I had to buy my own computer. But, you know, people younger than me, so many people they got their Spectrum, they got their Commodore 64, or if they're unlucky, got their Amstrad. Just kidding. Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it, and it's the same with games, because you wanted to get your big games out for Christmas, and unfortunately, a lot of the games were rushed to get out in Christmas. I mean, I suppose when you think about it, it's not just getting the game out for Christmas, it's getting the game finished so it can be reviewed in the magazine before Christmas. So you had to have your games pretty much ready, you know, probably 2-3 months before Christmas time. But yeah, Christmas has always been, and it still is, the time where companies make their money. You know, if you've got an item or something that people want, that is when you're going to make shitloads of money. So yeah, definitely, Ross, the Christmases in the UK would have been what kind of got the Spectrum as the best selling computer in the UK. So thank you very much, Squire, much appreciated. And my old mate Steve, gaming since the 1970s. Good waffle. On Christmas I do love it, but there is an intense level of stress with it for sure. Now, questions. I noticed you mentioned the ZX81, which came in 2 forms. You could buy the kit cheaper and build it yourself, or pay more and get one built. My question is this: should more 8-bit computers come with the option to pay less and build it yourself? And if so, would you have bought one? I would. I suppose it would have been a good thing for boffins unlike me. I mean, I couldn't, you know, there's absolutely not a cat's hailing chance of me being able to build a computer, so I was always going to be the person that would buy one pre-built. But yeah, I mean, I suppose the ZX81, I would imagine, as far as assembling one, it was probably just clicking a few chips and all that kind of stuff together. I couldn't imagine building a Commodore 64 from scratch, like a kind of Lego kit. I don't know, but I'm sure I've probably got some friends who would have been more than capable of building one and getting it cheaper. Pardon me, but I think the majority of people would be like myself, wouldn't have had a clue. But an interesting thought there, Steve. And question number 2, what's your favourite science fiction film of the 70s and why? Take care, mate, and I wish you and your family a happy new year. Thanks very much, Steve. As you probably know, I'm not a film person. In fact, we were actually talking today at work about, in fact I was getting slagged off actually, about how many massively popular films that are regarded as classics I've never seen. And there's loads of them, there really are loads of them that I've never seen. So I'm not the best person when it comes to kind of science fiction, but this is a complete no-brainer. Whilst I'm not a Star Wars nerd, the original Star Wars, I mean the first 3 films are landmark films. I loved it. I mean, I've seen them so many times. I went to the pictures with my sister to see Star Wars, and yeah, like every kid back then, not even every kid, everyone that saw that film back then, it just blew our minds. You know, the special effects, the story, the characters, everything about it, all the baddies, Darth Vader, holy shit. Yeah, Star Wars without a shadow of doubt, mate. So thanks again, Steve. Colin Jones, ponder. The lead up to Christmas is very, very stressful for me, even though I tend to get organised early. I alleviate the stress with the bah humbug stuff, but the stress is still very real. Once Christmas is here, especially after food, I tend to wind down and let the stress flow away. I did ask a question last week, by the way. I do apologise, Colin, I don't know what happened there. I have a question this week too. I know you like your pool, but how do you feel about playing snooker, and have you ever tried the granddaddy game billiards? I used to play snooker with my dad back in the sort of early 80s. He joined a snooker club, and going from pool to snooker, and pun intended, it's a completely different ball game. Anybody can play pool. You might not be great at it, but anybody can play pool and put a few balls. Snooker is a completely different animal. I'm completely wank at snooker. Used to play it a lot with my mates. When I say a lot, we'd maybe play it, I don't know, maybe once a month or that. We'd go up, have a few beers and play, but it's so difficult. So I don't play, I've not played snooker for, I don't know, 10, 20 years, something like that. And as for billiards, nah. I know the idea of the game. You've got to try and hit a ball with your ball and like try and hit two balls together. You don't pot them. It's all about cannon shots. It looks as boring as shit. So not played snooker for years. I think my highest break, I think it was 32, which is actually not too bad. I think I got about 2 or 3 blacks. It was probably a fluke. But yeah, not a fan of pool, not a fan of snooker, way too difficult. And billiards, no thank you. So thanks Colin. Matt Renton, I hope you're doing okay, Matt. I know you were in hospital recently, mate. I hope you're on the road to recovery. I can't even say this. Culturally, we are no better off. Social media has made us more insular. There seems to be a shift of dynamics in relationships and how we engage with each other. How many times have you been in a bus or a train and everyone has their head on their phone, ironically again checking phone because we want to be liked. We want likes on our posts and pics as it makes us feel wanted. The problem is that it's fake. We are seeking connection with the wrong area. People that are in the same space take a back seat for something of a digital realm, and for me that's really sad. Take care, mate. All the best for 24. I'll be on my own New Year's Eve, most likely on my own for my birthday tomorrow. I hope you had a nice birthday, Matt. I think I did wish you a happy birthday. You know what? You and me both, mate. It utterly saddens me, big style, if I'm on public transport. I mean, I do take trains quite a lot, and you just see people heading the phones. I mean, I was at my girlfriend's for on Christmas Day, and at one point there was 5 people in the room, including me, and 4 of them were all on their phones. The TV was on, and 4 people had their heads in their phones. I would throw these things out the bucket. If the government announced tomorrow that it was banning all social media, I would actually be quite happy. I really, really would. I just think it's killed society. It's taken away the ability for young people to interact. They don't know how to interact with people anymore. I think it's absolutely ruined society. I really do. So thanks, Matt. Pixel Fix, hi Alan. I fully agree that Christmas is losing its magic, mostly down to folks like me attitudes. Do you think the days of collecting systems and games are over now? We now have so many options like FPGA and mini systems. Apart from bragging rights, it seems kind of redundant. I was going to say I would like to say it was. I hope people do still collect systems, because I've got systems that I want them to buy. Joking aside, no, I don't think I think it's probably more popular than ever. This hobby of ours it's huge. There are so many YouTube channels, people making their own videos and that kind of stuff. And yeah, there's so many people into collecting them. I mean, the days of getting a bargain has passed. But no, there's always going to be, whilst there's people like me who are kind of downgrading and, so not downgrading, downsizing their collections because they don't want them anymore. They've had them, they've had the fun. I want to recoup the money that I've spent in them, and it's a lot of money when I think back how much I've spent over the years. It's thousands, you know what I mean. So I want to recoup it. For me, I'm quite happy just to be able to play the games using other systems, whether it's an emulator, whether it's an FPGA, Mister, whatever, handheld, doesn't bother me. But no, I think collecting is still here to stay. When will it end? I don't know. Once my generation and maybe people who are about 30 years old kick the bucket, I don't see people like my daughter collecting systems because she doesn't have any real nostalgia for a system. It's just a game that she plays So no, I don't think it's over. I think it's far from over, Pixel. But again, thank you very much, mate. Ox, this time of year doesn't fill me with joy anymore either. Still, it could be worse. You could have a birthday on Boxing Day. I'm guessing your birthday is on Boxing Day, Neil. If that's the case, I hope you had a good time. Milfy Swinbuckle, no problem on the question, just a bit of daft nonsense. Anyway, have a good new year and get plenty drunk. I had a good new year. I mean, it was fun, but I didn't get drunk. I think I had 2 pints and that was it. Yeah, Milfy, I did kind of feel a wee bit bad the way I answered what I said last week. I think in the last while, because I've not been feeling it, kind of, Friday Waffle wise, and I had a few issues over the kind of Christmas. It just felt a bit kind of too daft, and I wasn't really in that kind of frame of mind, and that was the reason I never did the Christmas Eve live stream with Lawn Boys post. I just wasn't in the Christmas mood. I wasn't in a particularly good place, and so when I saw your question, I just thought, no, I'm not answering it. But listen, Milfy, I do appreciate the effort you go to kind of support the channel. I really do, mate. Craig Flanagan, Alan, totally agree with everything you said, mate. Keep your chin up. Yeah, I think you're probably agreeing with all the kind of moaning that I was doing last week, Craig. But thanks, buddy. And my mate Del Boy, hey buddy, what one thing made you decide to leave the Atari ST behind and get an Amiga? And before you bought it, what research or magazines or influences made you decide that this was the year for you to jump back to Commodore? Best wishes for the new year, my friend Excelsior. Thanks very much, Del. Always appreciate your friendship and your support, mate. I mean, again, I've said this story a million times. I had my Commodore 64, got that in 1983, I think it was, and then in 1987, was it Computer and Video Games? They were talking about the new 16-bit machine, the Atari ST. I had seen pictures of the Amiga. I remember seeing Jeff Minter wrote an article about the Amiga, and he was talking about this game called Marble Madness, which I'd never heard of at that point, and he said how it was exactly the same as the arcade version, and it just looked completely jaw-dropping. But the thing is, the Amiga at that point was like, I don't know, £2,000, so it was something that I didn't even contemplate getting it. But then I saw a picture, a screenshot of International Karate on Atari ST, and I'm like, wow, look at the graphics. The graphics compared to what I was used to in the C64, it was like night and day. And again, I didn't have the money, I was earning like £150 a month. I think I used to clear about maybe 200, and I used to give my mum 125 quid. Yeah, which I suppose was quite a bit of money now I think about it. But I didn't have the money for an Atari ST. And then the computer shop that I used to go up to, it was an Atari dealer. He had an Atari ST, and then I found out that you could actually, I could buy one and pay up so much per month. So that was it. I sold my Commodore 64, my disc drive, the entire collection of Zap magazines, hundreds of discs games, tape games, joysticks, you name it. I sold all that for 100 quid. And cartridge games as well. And I put the £100 towards as a deposit on the Atari ST. And then I said I had to obviously pay it up over like the next couple of years. And I got it home, and the graphics blew me away. I was just so impressed with the graphics. But the sound, part of me actually died that day when I got the Atari ST. Going from the wonderful SID chip in the Commodore 64 to the ST, it felt like I'd just spent all this money getting a brand new computer system, and it had worse sound than the system I just sold for £100. So I was genuinely gutted with the quality of the Atari ST, but you know, the sound wise. But there wasn't much I could do about it. I'd sold the C64. I mean, I didn't want the C64 back, even though the sound in the ST was nowhere near as good. But then the Amiga A500 got announced, and I think it was, I can't remember how much it was, £400 or something. And again, at that point, I couldn't afford it. But I was reading magazines. I used to buy all the magazines under the sun at that point, and they would talk about the Amiga, and the Amiga was this holy grail of machines. It was a machine that everybody would want to own, but couldn't afford it. And then this one day, I saw an advert for a computer shop in a place called Portobello, which is near Edinburgh. And this shop was, they were accepting trade-ins for a Commodore Amiga. And I think I phoned them up, and they said, yep, if you bring your Atari ST in, we'll take that, and then you can pay the rest of the money. So me and my mate Ian, we rushed through. He had the Atari ST as well. We got through, handed over the Atari ST, got the Amiga, and boom, that was a game changer. So the reason for doing the swap deal was the Atari ST felt almost like a backward step from the Commodore 64. I mean, I know there were some stunning games that, you know, the C64 couldn't have done, but it did feel like a bit of a backward step. And I'd read enough and seen enough articles about the Commodore Amiga, and I knew that was like the must-have computer. But at that point, there was no way in a million years that I was ever going to own one. It's a bit like seeing an arcade machine. I mean, I've got 3 arcade machines now. Back in 1980, you would look at a Space Invaders machine, and it never even went through your mind that you would actually maybe buy one of these, because they were like thousands and thousands of pounds. They were like, you know, they were unaffordable. And it was the same with the Amiga. The Amiga was unaffordable until, you know, I had the option to trade in the ST. And I'd read so much about the Amiga. It was an absolute no-brainer. As soon as I could get one, I got one. And yeah, it was everything that the Atari ST was, but better graphics, much better sound. So yeah, absolutely blown away. So anyway, listen, Dale, thank you very much, mate. Once again, I appreciate your time. And the last one, Dreamcatcher. I was talking about how kids nowadays, they kind of just ignore you. And I think he maybe picked up the wrong end of the stick. He said here, I'm surprised that you're surprised that kids are wary of making small talk with a 56-year-old stranger they pass out in public. Have you never heard of stranger danger? Now, when I would never in a million years stop a young person in the street and start talking to them, unless of course we were standing next to each other, you know, whatever. It was merely when you're out walking the dogs and you walk past somebody in a path, you either look up and smile, or you say hello, and that was it. That's what I was meaning, not sit and make small talk. As I said there, I did reply to it. I said I wouldn't engage in small talk with a complete stranger. It's more when you're out and about. I was brought up to say hello or smile as you pass people, but kids nowadays quite literally walk past you as if you're invisible. So yeah. Anyway, I think that is it. Hopefully this has been you've got almost 45 minutes of waffle. I don't think there's anything else I need to say. I will be back on back to normal again. I will be back on, on Sunday, 7 o'clock to 9. Unless I say differently, I will be along, but I will put a wee post up in the usual places. I will be back for the usual live stream. So have a great weekend, folks. Yeah, as always, thank you very much for watching.